Hi, Katrina.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome to the Real Life Club. You're my second guest. You also drove here with me very early this morning and slept in the van the whole way.
Yeah, it was a great nap. It really was.
Thank you for coming all the way to Somerset. Yeah, so a little bit just about the Real Life Club. I had this idea to start this podcast, and it's sort of a lot about the wild times. And yeah, the Real Life Club really is sort of an argument for why we need real life connection, like to each other and to nature. And that's a lot about what my retreats are about. But yeah, also, you know, in this time and where we are like in the world and in society and everything right now, I just feel like it's extra important. So that's just why I made it really. I just wanted to like talk about real life stuff in real life with a campfire, smoke in your eyes.
This is real.
A lot of wind. Mic stick. Keeping it real in my sort of pajama outfit that I wear like every day. But it's cool. We're just rolling with it. So yeah, thank you so much for coming. I first met you a couple of years ago when you came on my retreat in Cornwall. And then, yeah, we've been hanging out quite a lot recently, which has been really nice. And you are a radio DJ and a presenter and a model.
Yeah,
and you live on a boat.
Yeah.
And you rock climb. And you just do like loads of really cool, interesting stuff. And yeah, when I first met you, I was just really inspired by you and how you've got to what you're doing. And yeah, if you just want to say a little bit about who you are and what you do.
I always hate that question because I'm like, in what capacity? What defines me? I guess professionally, I'm a presenter. I've been doing like music radio for quite a few years now. And then in recent years, I've sort of feel like I've really discovered my authentic voice and hosted and created my own podcast, which is about alternative thinking. And yeah, like being totally honest, this feels like a really strange middle bit for me and quite nice to like mark this moment. Like I keep trying to practice whenever I'm speaking, like really speaking the truth and like, do I really mean what I'm saying? So in this moment when I'm trying to describe like what I do, it feels like the next chapter's not even solidified yet, which feels really exciting. But I think this is why we've maybe reconnected again, like being called to like nature and people, just things that like feel important. With the rest of the stuff you said, yeah, I started as a professional dancer. Yeah. And I still don't really know why I did that. I think when I was younger, I maybe just liked the attention of being good at something and then realised it felt really good to be in your body. And then that sort of got carried away with that. Then sort of went into modelling and presenting. And yeah, I don't know, the more I reflect on this, it just feels like a long time of being like called into nature and what actually just feels right. So I live on a narrowboat at the moment. But again, that choice was never made. Like, I watched the Minimalist documentary and I just remember being like, why do I want to do jobs that I don't want to do to pay for space that I don't need? And then through that, accidentally realised like how at peace you feel when you're just, like you said, like with people in community close to nature.
But I remember you saying something about living on a boat makes you realise about like being sustainable and how much water and everything you're using, and obviously you're living like so close, like, you know, floating, and there's something about that, you feel the floating and the being cocooned and like it's very relaxing. And yeah,
it's definitely, I've learned so much. Again, it was just like all by accident. I think it was like lots of choices made cognitively, but actually my body and mind just like deeply craved it. Just noticed the seasons more. Just because, in the summer it's obviously getting warmer and then I'm getting like more solar power and I'm like, oh great, I don't have to run my engine because like the sun is keeping me going. So I think, you're way more aware of the change in seasons, which you're just not in a house, like having to light a fire, and the process of how there's always like 10 steps to do one step in a house. So like if you get cold, you can just like flick your heating on. Whereas I'm like, oh, do I have any wood? Do I have coal? Do I have my fire lighter? Like, do I want to stay awake for an extra like hour and a half to make myself warm? So I think it makes you act with way more intention, because if you do something, you really want to have to do it, because it's like you need a serious amount of motivation. It's so much about just how society's developed and how people stereotypically live just doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. Like being far away from nature, being so disconnected with everything, being so unaware of your consumption. I think, yeah, that's what's kind of like catapulted me a bit into the sustainability field. Not because I was like, oh, like, you know, I love animals, I love nature, but that was never the primary thought for me. A lot of it is like, this really doesn't make sense, and it shouldn't be like a privileged choice to be intentional about what you're doing.
I love that. Opting in and opting out of society, in which we were talking about recently, is a whole big topic, but it's like trying to do the two things, and, you know, trying to live like with the seasons and slowly and intentionally, but also like living in like a capitalist society where we have to like make money to live and like buy things, and like everything is so expensive. Yeah.
It is wild. But then I think that's what's amazing, when you find people who are breaking through in those spaces. Like, you've been super brave in what you're doing. You've created community and connection, and I don't know, it feels like fighting the system, right? You're like, no, I can have it all, and these things are important, you know, somatically, spiritually, but also financially. Like, if people are making money off some things, then like, why shouldn't you be making a living by like providing people with joy and connection? I've been thinking a lot about recently opting in and opting out, and like you say, trying to exist in a capitalist society. And not only that, in such like a buzzy city where you feel like you always need to be doing and achieving and grafting. Whereas actually the things that are going to help you grow and heal and achieve, it's like the total opposite, right? It's like slowing down and being aware of things and being closer to that important stuff, whether that is outside or like between me and you.
Yeah, and I think, you know, that is the thing, isn't it? It's like the yin and the yang, the being and the doing, and the balance of that. And, you know, pretty much all of us are like out of whack with that, and we're like, you know, and I often have this like voice in my head being like, you should, and it's these shoulds that are really unhelpful, and trying to release them. And, you know, because what I like do on the retreats is try and facilitate and hold the space for people to like properly like relax and slow down and rest. And you know, I think so many of us have the shoulds because we, you know, you feel guilty. You're like, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, and we should always be productive. But actually, you know, what I tell myself and what I try and share on the retreat is like, we have to balance the doing with the being, and it's as important, but we never really give ourselves like the time and space to like actually lie down and do nothing. Like, you might like Netflix and chill, but actually consciously doing nothing and just being, it feels so alien to like so many of us.
Yeah, and it's so I think counterproductive long term. I think that's something recently I've been trying to look at a lot, of like, being more creative and exploring that authentic voice and like, you know, your true purpose and how to fulfill that. And I think I have the natural predisposition of like the to-do list, do the things, make the things happen. And actually sometimes the best thing you can do creatively is to like allow yourself to be. And I've been doing the artist's way for a few months, and that thing of like creativity and like art and these things come from space. If you're not carving out the space for that stuff, like how are all these things meant to arise?
Well, it's like was it Isaac Newton figured out gravity when the apple fell on his head when he was just chilling out under a tree? And old mate, was it Socrates or one of the Greek philosophers? Eureka in the bathtub, you know. Yeah. So you gotta have that chill space to be creative, or like to think creatively as well, and you know, as well with like even just walking, and you know that's when you come up with like all these ideas and stuff. So yeah, there is like a lot to be said for that, and it's not necessarily that we should be like at a desk, like, you know, that doesn't give you the headspace to like think creatively.
Yeah, I wish I'd been taught a lot of these tools growing up, and that sort of, you know, wellness, like healing space shouldn't just be seen for, you know, people who like live in a fancy part of London and can afford a yoga class. It can be so simple, the things you can do with your day that don't have to be, you know, you don't have to go and pay for a yoga class or do all these different things, like making choices, living close to nature, being involved in community. Like it's, yeah, I think my next chapter, a lot of it will be sort of exploring if that is possible, that like juxtaposition of existing in mainstream society whilst also recognising like what's important in humanity, and like really trying to prove you don't have to be in a super privileged position to be like free and heal, or you shouldn't be anyway.
Yeah. And that's, you know, like even to be able to afford to go on a retreat is a massive privilege, you know. And but some of the things that I try and share with people is like, you know, could you just take your morning tea or coffee outside and you just have those first like 5-10 minutes of the day out in natural light, which helps your body and mind to like wake up, and you know just be out, and that, you know, that's free. And just walking, just literally going outside and going for a walk, you feel better all the time. Like 99% of the time, going for a walk probably cures it. So yeah, that is that thing, isn't it? Sometimes it can feel, it's like accessibility to like nature and wellness, and it not being exclusive or like gate kept. Like, you know, there's the Right to Roam campaign at the moment, like in Dartmoor, with against this guy who owns a hedge fund or something, who owns a bit of Dartmoor and isn't letting people wild camp on it, even though people have been wild camping there for like forever. And you know, they're trying to open up land access in the UK, Dartmoor and other places, because, you know, they have it in Scotland where you can just camp anywhere and walk anywhere, but a lot of the land like in the UK is private land, or even if there are little pockets of woodland and stuff, you can't actually access it because it's like private land to get there. So,
and it's only stopping the people who are really actually trying to tap into those important things as well. It's people being like, yeah, I want to get involved in that, in like nature and be close to these things. Yeah, I sort of hope people win that battle of proving that you can exist in society whilst whilst recognising the important stuff.
I think it's like everything, right? Like, you know, I don't know, things get packaged up and then sold back to you. You know how like is it Gorpcore now? It's like, isn't it Gorpcore? It's like everyone's wearing the Salomons and like the hiking clothes. That's called Gorpcore.
I'm obviously not cool enough to do it. I'm not caught onto it yet.
But it's like, I don't know, in Hackney everyone's dressing like they're going for a hike all the time, and it's that like everything gets repackaged to you and sold to you, like you need all this kit to go hiking, but you just go for a walk. Do you know what I mean? Doesn't have to be like complicated. Yeah You came to the Wild Times retreat in Cornwall, in Bodmin Moor, to a beautiful location, like one of my favourite places that I do retreats. And that's where we first met. And I remember talking to you then about like how you got into what you did, and that's what I really loved. I remember really loving that, because you were like, oh yeah, I just like decided I wanted to become a DJ and a presenter, so I just like did it, and I just said I was going to do it, and then I just learned how to DJ. And I always love hearing stories like that, because it is that thing of, it's brave, but it's also like hard to step out of doing what like everyone else is doing and just having like the audacity to just say like, well, I'm this now, and then just doing it, you know? And I feel like that's half the battle always. You know, people are always like, how do I, you know, do this or that? You just basically just say you are, and then you do it, and then you've done it, and then you are it.
Yeah.
That's what I find anyway, faking it till you make it. With my wand stick.
Yeah, I don't think it's until recently I've like given myself enough credit for that. Like, I'm really proud of how hard I've worked. And yeah, that thing, I think I told you I was a dancer, and I was like on X Factor, dancing behind Take That. And I remember everyone saying like, oh, this is the highlight of our career, like, you know, this is so amazing. And I just went home and cried. So I was like, if this is the highlight of my career, this isn't enough. And I remember watching Dermot O'Leary and being like, I don't want to be one of 20 back here. I can hold my own. Like, I want to be him up there. And then the best piece of advice anyone ever gave me was just to like focus on one thing. You know, I was trying to be a model, trying to be a dancer, trying to be a presenter. Although it's annoying that people don't sometimes accept that you're multifaceted, I was like, okay, pick that one thing, run with it. And honestly, like, as soon as I started, I changed all my social media handles to say I was a presenter. Every time I spoke to anyone, I was like, oh, I'm a presenter. And they're like, what do you present? I'm like, nothing yet. I remember another thing someone said to me was, like, act as if you're doing the thing, and then it's the easiest thing in the world for someone to give it to you. And that's just the irrelevant factor. You know, you're living, you have the conviction that you're doing it. And then, so what? Fine. And then that was when, like, oh, I got a radio show to present. But in my head, I was like, I've been a presenter for years. This is great.
It's just the icing on the cake.
Yeah. But no, it's but I can look back now and also see how I had that support, even though I've always felt like the weird one, or people are like, what are you doing? Like, why are you living on a boat? Why don't you go to uni? I know there have been key people in my life who have just been like, no, like, trust your instinct, like, do it. Like, my older sister, like, super arty and creative, and she ignored all of that and went to uni to do computer science, then dropped out. She was really unhappy, then became an accountant, earned really good money. And I remember her taking us on shopping sprees, and we would spend money, and we were like, she's still not fulfilled, she's still not happy. And then she quit all of that, went back to art college. She's been an ice sculptor, she's worked like with wax, she's done all these amazing things. And yeah, it's like people who deeply know you along the way to be like, no, you trust that inner belief and run with it, even if you can't see examples of, you know, I sort of couldn't see people who come from a similar background as me doing the things I'd dreamed to do. But yeah, I think, yeah, some of it's being brave, but some of it's having those key people in your life who are like, no, I see it. Like, I see you, even if everyone else doesn't, and just like run with it.
Yeah. I think that's so true as well. Like, expanders in your life. Like, I've had that where I've had some people, like some really good friends who have just been like, oh, you know, I wanted to be an author, so I just wrote a book and became an author, or I wanted to make a film, and they, you know, and I'm like, but how, you know? And I think that for me, I remember growing up, I didn't really know anyone who like had their own businesses at all, or, you know, really like had like careers. It was more like they had a job that like facilitated like their life, and they wouldn't have really like thought of it as a career, if that makes sense. And it wasn't probably until I went to uni and then moving to London and then being around all these people who had startups or just were like, oh yeah, I you know, I'm an author and and you know, and like, and I didn't realize that you could just do that. I thought that there was some like permission slip you needed, or some validation from, you know, but actually what I've been doing, even with this podcast and and like I've got a children's book coming out next year and stuff, is basically just like feel the fear and do it anyway, and just like do it, and then then you've done it, you know, like don't think too much in a way. Because I think sometimes you can like think yourself out of it. But yeah, it's if it can be around people who like expand your view of like what's possible and can show you that you can just do things, then it's really powerful.
The importance of social learning, like a really good friend of mine did a podcast episode on that, and she's talking about like allow yourself to be around people who help you or encourage you to like dream audaciously. And that I'm seeing now more than ever, like feeling like I'm in a transition period of, it's so important of like finding the people who have similar values to you and believe they can do anything, like connect with what's truly important amongst that like ambitious buzz. And that fusion is where I think people can make massive impact. Like I've said to you before, like you significantly changed my life with the retreat. I'm not just saying that to blow smoke up your ass. Fire smoke. I just remember when I was like doing a lot of modelling work, I was getting loads of outdoor modelling gigs, but I'd never been that into hiking or climbing or like anything like that. But I just remember being like, oh, the people, like these are the people I want to be around. And it just like didn't know where to turn exploring that by myself. I knew I really liked yoga, and it was a friend who recommended your retreat. But like you brought all these people together. Like I didn't even know what my values were or know what I needed, but you gave the space to explore that. Like I remember on the day there was like a surf lesson booked and a sea swim. I was fully like, from a young age, I was like, I hate being cold, hate being in the water, can't think of anything worse. I remember a few of you were like, well, just like come along and try it. And like none of it was compulsory, none of it was forced. And I just remember being like, oh my gosh, I've been reborn. Like, what?
I remember you shredding.
Yeah. And then seeing the pictures after on this tiny bit of white water.
Just ripple.
Yeah, I was like, I'm invincible.
Kelly Slater.
Yeah, but like putting... I'd never really delved hard into yoga or sound baths or surfing or even knowing just they're my kind of people and I belong there, and you like provided such a just like safe also joyful space to be like, oh fuck it, just give it a go, and like it's just not that deep. And like that feels like a massive turning point for me where I like found my tribe. And if you hadn't have had the conviction in like your idea and had all your support networks and gone against the grain and done it, like that's just my story. Imagine like all these other people where you've like allowed that to happen.
Oh, thanks, love. Yeah, it's really nice to hear. I loved when you told me about that. Because you don't really know the impact often, you know, like you can have these really lovely retreats and experiences, but yeah, you don't know what the ripple effects are. So it's nice to hear it back.
But I think that's also when you're allowing that space and trust and you're like being authentically you and living in your purpose, like when those two things align, it's so like energetically clear. And if everything just falls into place, it's just very clear that you're doing that. I think that when more people are encouraged to do that, you're allowing other people to flourish and find their purpose and their things. But I think it, especially when you're like, especially with, you know, radio stuff that I do, sometimes I think like, you know, I've got all these people working night shifts, saving lives, texting in, and I'm like, what, talking about what Ed Sheeran's doing at the weekend? But then I can feel like when I'm living authentically in my power, even if I'm just like providing a bit of joy to someone's day, I don't know, it feels like right or valuable. So yeah, I'm the same as if someone messages in and says like, oh, do you know what, I've been listening to your show for a few years and I had like a really hard patch and you've given me some comfort there. I think sometimes creative things can feel a bit selfish or isolating. That's why when someone does something, I'm like, no, you need to know.
So one thing I wanted to talk to you about is community. Because a lot of what I do is trying to bring people together in real life and connect to themselves and their bodies, and get out of like their heads and connect with the belly and the heart. I do a lot of like belly heart yoga. You have to come and find out what it's like, but also like each other. And it's really interesting, the connections that people make and that they have. And I mean, it's funny as well because I set this business up because, it was combining everything that I love doing, like sitting around a campfire and talking to nice humans and floating around on the sea and hiking and being in nature. But, really the reality of running like any business is I spend 80% of my time alone at home crying, staring at a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
I don't cry all the time.
You're not alone.
but I think it's good to like be honest about that as well, because sometimes people will be like, oh, it looks like you're smashing it with the wild times. And I'm like, well, yeah, it may look like that from the outside, but the reality of just often so much stuff is it doesn't maybe feel the same, or it's way harder. And also that things can be very isolating, and, like your job as well, like often, being freelance or whatever, like you can be and feel like very alone. And I think especially, like COVID has been a shift in time, and it went on for so long that everyone got used to being completely remote or hybrid and working alone at home. And I really feel like it's not good for us. And I think that, one thing you were talking about is like the boating community, but also your rock climbing community that you found in London, and also recently sauna community too.
I'm so deep in the sauna community now. Yeah. I think life can feel so isolating most of the time. I think social media is a big part of that, of, what balance do you have of like being real but also wanting to show your best self to progress professionally or like to get opportunities. And it's sometimes I just like, most of the time I actually totally opt out, because then the like discrepancy sometimes, or like the gap it feels between the way you're portraying yourself and the way you feels so massive that I'm like, I just can't do it. And yeah, I think especially being a freelancer and, with the radio stuff, I produce it, I present it. Like, yeah, so it's fucking so much fun. But also the reality is I'm sat in a box by myself for 10 hours a week. And then I've also opted to live in a steel box by myself. And I don't think I really realised the impact of that until recently. And it's been a big step recently of like consciously trying to find those communities. And I've listened to like a lot of podcasts and talks of, people are finding like fast food forms of connection, right? This phrase that it was, I think I told you with Esther Perel and Brené Brown, the phrase they used was, I have thousands of friends at my fingertips, but not a single person to feed my cat. I was like, that is exactly how I feel in London, unless I'm really consciously trying to opt into community. And yeah, I think that's, it feels like a real raw, like cave person type of thing. Do you know what I think? Like having that understanding and belonging. It doesn't just feel important on a sociable, like tick that box level, like a survival thing of like, no, I need my tribes to have that belonging and be able to like flourish. But yeah, I've definitely found that through my like climbing community now, even though at times I've been like dragged kicking and screaming like I am a strong independent woman and I don't need anyone. Turns out you really need community. And yeah, through like certain yoga communities. Again, I think this is why in my head your retreat changed a lot of things for me, because I think I had stories about the things I liked to do or didn't like to do. I think activities are such a good vessel for finding your people, because it's like you're not getting self-worth or being appreciated isn't coming from what job you do or like any significant external factors. It's like, oh, we're all trying to climb this rock and
or tree.
Like let's give it a crack together. Bouldering communities, outdoor swimming communities, yoga, even surf communities, even though like, oh my God, I'm still so bad. I cannot tell you.
But yeah, I love that. It's like, it's not about the being good or bad thing. It's just about the doing it for the love of it and finding other people with similar interests who do it for the love of it. And I think, it is, more and more important to like push yourself to go out to find those things. It's like, we're both quite sociable people, but if we feel, often like lonely in London, then I don't know, other people must be seriously lonely if they're maybe shyer or their job is like fully at home all the time. And, so it's like really, pushing yourself to go and be like, what do I want to do? Or what do I want to try? Or, and there are so many, obviously we both live in London. I don't want to be so London centric, but I see these amazing, organizations when people are like all growing food together and like learning and sharing that, and you rock climbing, and that's becoming a massive thing. Or whether it's like pottery, I see these amazing like pottery clubs, or just walking with some bird watching, whatever it is. But I think it's like very necessary and very healing. Loneliness is an epidemic, and there's a thing with older people as well, how it literally like keeps you alive, like having good social connections,
In one of the books I read, where when I was maybe in a time of just like, what am I doing? Like, I don't even know who I am anymore. This woman said, like, never be afraid to reinvent yourself. And that's such a source of confidence. Like like all these stories you tell yourself, and it's so to do with your conditioning. I think when you realise your conditioning or can unpick that, you realise you have a choice. Like that thing of, I hate swimming, I hate being cold. And then that one day of you guys just being like, just get in the sea and see like what it's like. And if you do that with one thing, you think, oh my God, what other things can I challenge myself with where I've told myself I'm not that kind of person? Or like a couple of years ago, I'd never been interested in going on hikes or doing anything like this. And I don't know, maybe in a few years there'll be some other crazy way I want to push myself or reinvent myself. But I think it's a very freeing thing to continually do.
I love that reinventing and that like not needing a permission slip as well, and having the audacity to be like, I'm going to do this, or, not telling yourself that story like, oh, I'm not a surfer, or I can't surf, or I've never been surfing. Well, everyone started at some point. I've been surfing quite a lot of times. I'm still terrible. But it doesn't matter. I'm always in the water like, the best surfer's the one having the most fun. Like smiling and waving at everyone.
Me owning a surfboard in central London.
And no car as well.
And no car.
Don't worry, I've got a van.
Yeah.
But I do think that's really important. And also, we were both at a sauna festival called the Saunaverse on Saturday in Hackney, and it's this amazing space called Community Sauna Baths, and they've got another pop-up location, another location as well now in Stratford, as well as they popped up in Peckham. This is not sponsored by them, by the way. I just love what they're doing. Not yet. And when I went there for the first time, there's something so freeing that I love about sauna culture, and I love that it's growing so much in this country, and it's a real leveler. Everyone's not wearing that many clothes, everyone's boiling hot, everyone's in and out of the cold showers and the plunge pools, and it's just lovely. There's something really like nice and leveling about it.
I think there's definitely something about that thing of getting into your body and out of your mind, and whenever you're doing an activity or a thing that takes everyone back to basic humanity, it just like strips back all the shit, doesn't it? We are both absolutely freezing in this ice bath, like no one cares what you do or anything else, like you're so shocked back into your body, and it sort of enables a whole new level of vulnerability. And it's that thing of trying to exist in that truth in a thriving city and being able to find those spaces like the community sauna. And it's such a beautiful place to be. I think when you can find those little pockets, that's when life doesn't feel empty or lonely.
Yeah, because I think I have a real love-hate relationship with London. I've sort of been in and out of London for 10 years and lived a lot of other different places around the world and in the UK, and it is very green. It does have these beautiful spaces, but also you can feel like, one, really lonely, and two, it's expensive, and three, you can feel like it just chews you up and spits you out, you know? So, yeah, it is really amazing and important to find those natural things or those cheap things or those free things or those community spaces to get involved in and do things. I think maybe the deep need is to feel understood and belonging, and it doesn't matter what the vessel is, but if you can sort of find that in some way. Yeah, I think we all have a need to belong. Is very important.
Yeah,
for sure. Have you got a good nature fact for me?
I don't know if this is true or not. My friends used to tell me all the time when I was a dancer and we were touring. We'd always, when we had days off, me and my friends and my ex would try and find places in nature. But my friend Andy would tell me this when we'd go up mountains, and he was saying so if you looked at Everest, if you zoomed out, this is going to be the least eloquently put thing ever. If you zoomed out of the world and looked at the height of Everest, say if it was you're looking at the earth like a golf ball, the height of it would be as smooth as a golf ball. So that perspective when you're looking at the bottom of a mountain of how high it is, but then actually when you zoom out into the universe, it's totally smooth. It's just that perspective blows my mind. And that may be a total lie, but every time we went up a mountain, it'd be did you know?
I like that. And I think that is a really important thing about being in nature and, actual awesomeness. Is awesomeness a word? When things are actually awesome, awesome, the word awesome is used too much, but that feeling of awe and wonder you get and that perspective you get when you're in some natural landscapes, whether it's looking out at stars, being on top of a mountain and looking out at the view, a really high tree, a waterfall. I always get this thing when I went to Iceland and we went to these so many amazing rivers and waterfalls, and I really had this feeling of these just don't turn off. These rivers aren't 9 to 5. They've been going for thousands of years. Yeah. There's something about nature that just gives you perspective and puts you in your place of making you realize how small and tiny you are. And so really in a way quite insignificant, and that is quite freeing.
Yeah. And even when you say it like that, how insignificant these systems are and that we're worrying about.
Yeah.
And then
what are we worrying about?
Yeah. You're just flow. Just exist.
Flow.
You're totally fine.
Yeah. Yeah. When you really zoom out. I think that's sometimes about imagining I was sitting on a planet or a star far away and watching the Earth, and no matter a lot of the things we put the Earth through are terrible and horrible, but I think that if you zoom out far enough, you can sit there and be well, the Earth's going to be fine. Humanity might not be fine, but there's something, the Earth will be fine. Until one day it gets eaten by the sun or whatever's going to happen. Yeah. I don't know.
That's quite scary when you put it like that. Yeah. But it's extremely true.
Yeah. So we just got to have fun for this little bit of time we're here. Where is your favourite wild place?
For me now, it's not even necessarily one specific place, just water. For me, I feel at home, whether that's been accidentally through canals. I went and visited the Llangollen Canal, and I automatically was oh, I'm at home. I feel so at home. Or whether that's just by the sea. To me, the actual ins and outs of the geographical location are kind of insignificant, but most of the travelling or exploring I'm doing, I'm what bit of water can I get near? Which is hilarious, since I was like, I hate swimming. I don't want to do any of this. So yeah, I feel like maybe my best places are undiscovered. I really want to go to Kerala this year, because that's where my family are from. And I didn't know, like, that's such a big place in terms of like water and boats and like surf. And now I'm like, oh, why am I drawn to all these things? I'm like, maybe it's because of your roots. Maybe it's like deep in you and you should look at that. So yeah, maybe I think my favourite places are probably yet to come.
Love that. Yeah, I really want to go to Kerala too. It's on the list. What would you like your legacy to be?
Oh,
Just a small question.
just a small one.
Yeah.
I don't know the specifics of my legacy yet. Like, I think I've always been that person to like almost have like a business plan about it, or like a statement to say. And I'm really trying to sit in that middle bit of unknowing and creativity and be totally fine with that. But I think the things I'd like to be known for are like bravery, authenticity, kindness, connection. I think maybe when you lead from those values, like the specifics of it are kind of irrelevant, right? Like I just hope I'm known for that, and then can take it to the greatest extent possible, because I believe I'm capable enough to do that. And also maybe to prove, I feel like I've done this a bit already, but that you can overcome certain social barriers. Like, why shouldn't it be you to do certain things? So I don't know, the specifics, who knows, but maybe we'll cut this up with something from 10 years' time and we'll be like, she did it.
She did it. What would be your one tip for someone who wants to reconnect to nature? Or connect in the first place?
I think just be open-minded. Yeah, it's funny, like, nature has like no judgment, right? But I remember before doing anything in nature, I'm not a hiker, I'm not a wild swimmer, I'm not a climber. It's like you just don't know any of those things. So just be open to what people are showing you, or even to what feels right. Yeah, I think be open and listen to your body.
Love that, thanks. Why in this time right now in 2024 do you think it's so important that we connect to each other in real life and connect to nature?
I sort of don't even feel like it's a choice anymore. I sort of had this discussion at dinner the other week, but everything, not to be like super alternative about this, but everything always feels on like the cusp of a revolution, of people, and everything is getting to breaking point, whether that's like loneliness, mental health, resources. It feels like if people aren't going to listen or make better choices or listen to their body, be in touch with all these things, like it isn't a choice anymore. It will and needs to happen, you know? And I think as well, everyone sort of knows deep down that feels right. You know, as soon as you like step out into a landscape, or like, you know, it's that exhale, it's your nervous system. It just feels like, yeah, there's so many layers of shit that have built up over what like basic humanity is. I think, yeah, unfortunately, everything's getting to breaking point, whether that's on an individual or global scale, that's forcing everyone to do it. So hopefully we can get ahead of the trend and, you know, just...
Yeah, vital. It is vital. Well, thank you so much for coming and being here and hanging out in the woods with me. Excited to get in the sauna later with you.
I've forgotten my sauna hat. It's so fuming. It's okay.
I can't believe we're the kind of people who now have sauna hats, but that's where we are.
My whole bag, I'm like, I hate swimming. 2 wetsuits in there, some boots, a couple towels. Sure.
Yeah, thank you so much, Katrina. It's been really great to chat. And yeah, thanks.
Thank you.